Yo, what up, YouTube? I'm back. It's been a couple weeks since I had a video, but I want to talk about creating a budget, right? Creating a budget in order for us to save, in order for us to organize our finance, and most importantly, in order for us to have money at the end of the month, right? So I want to talk specifically, guys, to African American households, because there's certain things that we can tend to spend more money on than we need to, right? So I created an entire list, right? An entire list that has most of the things that we spend money on. Now, all the numbers that I'm going to use, I'm pretty much going to average everything out. But we got food, we got rent, we have utilities, we have house supplies, right? We have essentials, we have liabilities, or what we would like to call the free money, or things that may not be making us money. We have phone bill, car note, debt such as credit cards, and their child care, right? So just looking at the average African American household, one of the main things that we spend a lot of money on is definitely some of the few I'm going to circle is house supplies, right? And some of those essentials can be things like beauty products, right? African Americans tend to spend a lot of money on beauty products, right? So we're going to just, like I said, we're going to go through this list, and we're going to start with the average, let's just say 3 to 4 family household, right? 3 to 4 family household. So on food a month, I've even spoken to some of my clients that I've sent a free budget sheet to. Let's just say you spend about $700 a month, right? $700 on food. Now, this is super important because we don't want to miss out on anything, right? We could also add essentials like beauty products. Let's just say the internet bill, things like that. Let's just say streaming services, right? Let's just say those type of things. Because a lot of times when there are smaller bills, we tend to forget about them. Memberships, things like that, right? So remember, I did a video before, the average rent was about $1,600, right? Between $1,200 to $1,600. So let's say $1,400 in rent. All right? Utilities, you typically got water, gas, and electric. And it could depend if you know what you pay based off where you live at. But let's just say utilities, you spending about $500 a month, right? House supplies, everyday needs, toilet tissue, right? Soap, toothpaste, all type of things like that, right? On average, let's just say you spend about $150, right? Essentials. This is where you really want to dig in when it comes to some of those liabilities and essentials, such as the beauty products, liabilities such as dinner, things like that, right? So let's just say if you go to dinner once a week and you spend about $70 at dinner, right? If you spend about $70 at dinner, that's $380 in a month, right? So now, beauty products, internet streaming services, let's just say that's a couple $100, right? About $200. Your phone bill, let's keep it simple and say $100 for your cell phone bill, for your iPhone, right? Now, with the car, your car note, let's just say you pay your car note is $300 a month, right? Let's say, okay, average debt in America, the average person may have around $500 in debt. So let's just say your average debt is about $300 a month with credit cards, debt, loans, or anything like that. And then childcare expenses, right? Childcare can be very expensive. So one of the main things with childcare, let's just say $300 a week, which is if you have multiple kids, and that's $1,200. So now let's just say we're looking at all of these numbers, right? If we add this up, just for simple purposes, right? Rent and food alone is $2,100, right? Water, gas, electric is $500. So now that brings us to $2,600, right? Household supplies, $150. That brings us to $27.50. Essentials, internet, $200. That brings us to $29.50. Right? Another $350 or $300 on dinners. That'll bring us to $32.50. Right? Phone bill, another $100, $33.50. Car note, right? We got $33.50. Car note, that's gonna bring us up to $36.50. $300 for the car note, right? Child care a month, $1,200. Child care a month, $1,200. Right? So we at 36. That's bringing us up to $48.50. Right? $48.50. Credit card debt, let's say $300. $300 on the credit card debt. So that's bringing us to about $51.50, right? That is $5,150. All right? And why is this number important? If your bills every month adds up to $5,150, a month, but your income, right? So you got food, rent, utilities, house supplies, liabilities, essentials, phone, car, child care, debt such as credit cards, right? So now, right, we got this number of $5,150. Now, if these numbers sound off to you, your numbers could be more, your numbers could be a little less, but just on average, this is what people are paying. So we got our expenses. I'm gonna get a better marker, I promise. Our expenses is $51.50. And if we look at our income category, depending on if we're in a two family household or one family household, let's say your income adds to about $4,000 for just one person. $4,000 a month. If you make $4,000 a month, you gotta make $1,000 a week. And that may be before tax or after tax. But if it's before tax, then of course you're not bringing home, $1,000 a week. That $1,000 may turn into $800, $750, depending on how much Uncle Sam takes. So if you look here at all the expenses we talked about, food, utilities, right? That came up to $5,150, but our income is only $4,000, right? Then we're technically behind $1,050. So when we're looking at all those numbers, when we're looking at this expense, the main thing we want to pay attention to is how can we start chopping things off of this number, right? What liabilities can I chop off? Is it a phone bill? Is it lowering my phone bill, changing plans? Is it refinancing my car or my car note, right? Where can we begin to chop off some of this number so that it can look closer to that $4,000 opposed to the $5,100, right? How can it look closer? If that income if the income is $4,000, then now we might have to say, okay, how do we increase the income? How do we increase the income, right? It's $4,000, or the expenses is $5,150. How can we decrease the expenses, right? How can we decrease the expenses also while increasing the income, right? So if you want this budget sheet, just go on my Instagram, I am Precious Thompson. DM me for the free budget sheet, but make sure you're looking at all of your expenses, because a lot of times your expenses may change. Once you have a baby, your expenses may change. Once you get a new car, you might buy a house, you might add expenses, things like that. So we always want our income to be higher than our expenses, but the only way for us to know is to really see where we're at. So if you're doing this physically on paper, the same way I had it on the board, write out food, Write out what you spend. You can even go on your bank account and track and see how much did I spend on food this month. How much was my car note? How much was my child care, my babysitting fees, or whatever else I had to pay, right? Because it's really not just necessarily, guys, how much we make. It's really about how much we keep, and that's why I wanted to bring this budget sheet to you. And I'm going to see y'all next time. Peace.